to reflect on the nature of the mind in a way that is intellectually not so difficult and that is very practical, that you can do in every situation. You know, emptiness has two sides. I didn't really go there yesterday. Conventional truth, ultimate truth, they are the two sides of one coin. And we can think about the emptiness side, you know, and that is why we talked about yesterday, which is difficult for the mind. We can also talk about the conventional side of the coin, and that is much easier to understand intellectual. So I will give you that before the course is finished. And if you feel like, well, I didn't get anything, and therefore, why would I even listen to these teachings? You know, our teachers say, every time that we listen, we get imprints. Something gets touched in us, whether we understand it or not, whether we connect with that or not, something in us will catch it. And the first round that I studied emptiness for 2 years, I did that with Cancer Jumper Tekchok. He has passed away. He passed away 2 years later, I think. But he said at the end of the teachings, he said, I was not interested in teaching this. You know, he was in his 80s. He was like, I wanna retire. I do not want to teach again. Anyway, Lama Zopa pushed him a bit and he agreed. But he said, initially I didn't want to do it, but then I accepted. And he says, I can say, I don't know about you, but I can say I received a lot of benefit of going over these teachings again. And he said, even if I don't understand everything, I know that one day these imprints will ripen in a correct understanding and in a proper realization. And he said, yeah, he was even like, you don't have to do much, you know, just when the causes and conditions arise for you to get this, correct understanding will arise, just independence on having the imprints. Right, I thought that was very beautiful and very encouraging. And so for me, after that, if I heard things that I couldn't remember or didn't get, you know, I was like, well, the imprints are there. And so emptiness is one of the most difficult topics to understand intellectually. But once you get it, they say it's not so difficult to realize. That is contrary to bodhicitta, developing the heart that wishes to benefit all sentient beings. That is intellectually quite easy to understand, but much more difficult to realize in the mind than emptiness. So don't let yourself get discouraged. But today we will do intellectually a bit more easy. We'll talk about how our mind works on the more subtle level. We go and try to look at that. We spoke about the self-grasping mind, the mind that grasps onto an inherently existent self. And then independence on that, delusions arise in the mind. So we're going to look into that mechanism more closely. That is there all the time with us, so you can observe that under any circumstances if you have the space in your mind to do so. So that's what we're going to do today. All right. So let's settle the mind with a short meditation. So find a posture which is suitable to meditate, to listen to the teachings for you. You know, whether you sit on the couch or on a chair, or you need support in your back, or whatever you feel helps you to be alert, to be present, to be attentive. I'm going to say that that is a good posture for today. And so when you have found that posture, go through it a couple of times, a quick body scan from the crown of your head down to your feet. Just checking in with yourself. How am I feeling today? Am I feeling relaxed? Is there somewhere some tension that needs to be addressed? And when you check in with your body like this, the mind automatically comes to the present moment. Notice that. And then when you feel that your body has become relaxed, that your mind is present with your body, that your mind has calmed down a bit, then focus on your breath. By observing the rising and falling of your abdomen. And then adjust your motivation. Why are you doing this? Think about your qualities. Think about developing your qualities. Think about what you would like to learn from this course and what you would like to do with that knowledge, that wisdom. And then connect with that Buddha nature, your Buddha potential at the center of your heart. Because we are having this Buddha potential, whatever you wished for can be achieved. By creating the causes and conditions that are suitable for that to arise. And then we take refuge and try to recall the objects of refuge and the meaning of these objects that we went through in the past few days. And if you want to read it with me, I put a text on the screen. Or just read it one time. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By listening to the teachings and practicing the perfections, may I achieve the state of a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. And then we can start. And I'm going to start with asking you a question, which if you feel you want to answer something, you can do that in the chat. So when you think about meditating on the nature of the mind, what kind of qualities do you associate that with? Why are you attracted to meditating on the nature of the mind? What do you think is going to happen to your mind when you meditate on your true nature? Becoming more clear and joyful, or blissful feelings will arise. So please just answer the questions. Don't come with other questions. It's very confusing. To be able to see things clearly. That is said to be one of the road to Buddhahood. Yes, that's true. But what do you associate in terms of qualities that arise in your mind when you think about the nature of the mind? Easy, flowing, vast. Very good. Less anxiety, more authenticity, feeling of flow. So someone says, I don't really get the nature of the mind, but I'm just curious about my emotions. Calmness, and don't go too fast. To see what my thoughts and emotions are like. Yes, calmness, I don't know. That's why I would like to learn here. Restless mind, a restless mind. Would you get a more restless mind or a less restless mind? So calming, clarity, moments of peace, learning to ride a wave, more focused. I want to understand the nature of the mind deeply, but why? What do you think you're going to discover? Reduce the coarse inputs, everything will be quiet and melts into something. It's a calm place though, yes. I see that I have a restless mind and you would like to address that. Connecting to peace, feeling of coming home. Thank you all so much. Deeper connection to other beings. That might be also true. So what if we go for having fewer disturbing thoughts and emotions, having less of being restless, having more peace, more feeling of coming home, being more quiet, being more calm. And that calmness and quietness can go together with a kind of bliss, And also when we arrive at the nature of the mind is quite a subtle mind. You know, when you meditate on the nature of the mind becomes more subtle. And I think the first day I said the coarse mind is actually very weak. It looks like it is kind of in our face, screaming, bullying, but it is not so strong. But the subtle mind is very strong. So when we start developing meditations on the nature of the mind becomes strong, and then concentration will become naturally stronger. And clarity. People like to see clarity, or they expect to find clarity. Cool. Okay. The nature of the mind is the same as Buddha nature. We'll talk about that more in terms of what do we develop. Okay. But not today, though. I first want to talk about our disturbing emotions, because they are in the way, right? And the better we can see them and the better we can stop feeding them, the more space there will be in the mind, and the more we will be able to start getting a feel for that nature of the mind. So when we think about the nature of the mind, you know, somebody said, I'm not so interested in the nature of the mind, I'm interested in my emotions and feelings. But when we think about the nature and the mind, we don't think about our disturbances and disturbing emotions unless we think they're going to be less. Nobody said, oh, they are actually part of my mind, part of the nature of my mind, right? We know that. But when they arise in the mind, whether that is anger, whether that is attachment or pride or jealousy, we somehow believe that they are part of us, right? We don't say, oh, no, you are coming up in my mind. You're not part of the nature of my mind. I'm not going to give you any attention. As soon as they come up, we think, oh, I need to say no to this person, or I need to, and then we start engaging in actions. So the moment they arise in the mind, they seem so real that we think that is me. I have to do something with that. When we think about the nature of the mind, there is nothing in us that says, oh, my disturbing emotions are part of that, right? I'm trying to show you where your wisdom is. You already have so much wisdom, but we forget what the wisdom is and what is the disturbing emotions, right? So I'm showing you, that disturbing emotions are not part of your mind. But when they arise, they seem to be so real that we believe they are part of our mind. Right? You see that discrepancy? So who are you going to believe? Who is right? Is it the nature of the mind, or is it the disturbing emotions? When the mind is calm and relaxed, you all will say, no, it is the nature of the mind. But when the disturbing emotion is there and somebody says, oh, that's not real, you say, oh, I know it's real. I can feel it. I have to do this. Right? This is a discrepancy. Our wisdom mind and our disturbed mind. And so the better we can see that these are two different types of mind that arise, and we can identify with one or we can identify with the other. And we are too caught up in one, we can, if we have enough wisdom, if our wisdom becomes strong enough, we can shift to the other side. So our disturbing emotions, they can be associated with unpleasant feelings. For instance, when anger arises in the mind or jealousy arises in the mind, they can also be associated with pleasant feelings. For instance, attachment normally makes us feel good, right? Unless we don't get what we want, then we feel our attachment in a way that it doesn't feel so good. But as long as we can get what we want, oh, we are sailing through life from one nice experience to the other, and attachment is showing us the way, so nice. And then pride, when people start giving us compliments and we feel that we're really good, we are much better than anybody else. And, there is a pleasant feeling that come with that. True? So disturbing emotions doesn't mean these are things that we don't like. Disturbing emotions means these are qualities that disturb the mind. These are functions or reactions that disturb the mind. Also confusion and doubt, which are very much related to ignorance. They confuse the mind. What was that? There's a confusion. When you feel, it's not so pleasant to feel the mind when it is confused. But when is it in the mind? Maybe you don't have a particular feeling, liking or not liking. So whatever disturbing emotion associated with pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings, they all arise in dependence on that self-grasping mind, the mind that holds the self to be an independent and objective entity, that holds the self to stand on its own. And so even that holding on to the self is said to be an afflictive emotion. It afflicts the mind, when you strongly feel yourself, that your mind becomes tense or disturbed, or it is ready to go into strong attachment, strong aversion. It afflicts the mind. It is also not based on reality, and that mind that is based on reality is a calm, peaceful mind. The mind that is controlled by self-grasping cannot be a peaceful mind. It is an afflicted mind. So whatever arises from that self-grasping mind is also an affliction. Attachment, aversion, jealousy, pride, and any disturbing emotion that arises from that, they all afflict the mind. So how does it work? In the explanation in Buddhism about the workings of the mind, Buddhism says there are 5 omnipresent factors that are in the mind in every moment. I didn't want to go here. What I wanted to say is one of them is feelings. Feelings arise in every moment of our mind. Feeling is what we call a mental factor that is present in each moment of mind. We have no choice about that. That's just how it is. So when pleasant feelings arise in the mind, what happens is that immediately attachment comes, and attachment says, oh, I want more of that. Attachment follows pleasant feelings. Attachment says, I want this, I need that, I do not want to let go of this. And attachment is, we use that in an attempt to find happiness. Right? The way we find happiness is that we go after pleasant experiences. As soon as pleasure arises, attachment is there trying to hold on, trying to get more of that. But we have seen that attachment is an affliction. It afflicts the mind, it disturbs the mind. So the definition of attachment is that which exaggerates the positive qualities of an object and wants to come closer to it. Exaggerates the positive qualities of an object means that when something appears, for instance, the color red, appears, a red cup appears to my mind. And I love that color red. I'm so attached to that color red. That's my color. That the mind starts grasping at it, and that red looks like a really beautiful color, as if that really beauty exists from the side of the cup. The real beauty of the color exists from the side of the redness of the cup. Right? When we see something, you know, you go in a shopping center and you think, oh, that is really beautiful. We think that the beauty is outside there. We think we can go in the shop and we buy that thing and we have the beauty close to us, right? That's attachment. But the beauty that we are seeing in whatever that was, that is coming from our mind. Right? There is something in that object that let in our mind arise the conception of real beauty. And then we believe that that beauty is real, inherently real, living in that object. So we need to have the object. Right? That's how attachment works. So we add a quality, just as with the self-grasping mind, where we add this quality of an own objective entity. With attachment, we add a similar quality. Whatever quality we like from an object becomes real, becomes existing from the side of the object, becomes inherently existent. So that is what attachment does. We all have that, right? You recognize that. So then when unpleasant feelings arise in the mind reacts with aversion. And aversion says, I don't like this, I don't want this, I want to be separated from this. So wanting to be separated from unpleasant feelings is our attempt to be free of suffering. Right? Wanting to be free of suffering in itself is nothing wrong with. It's a good thing. But the way we do it, we use aversion for that. And when aversion doesn't work, you know, for instance, we say, no, I don't want that, and the person keeps forcing it onto us, then it grows into agitation, it grows into anger, into hatred, and then it can turn into resentment. You know, there are many gradations that we can experience aversion. So the definition from aversion is very similar to attachment, just the opposite way. So it is that which exaggerates the negative qualities of an object and wants to be separated from it. Anger exaggerates, just like attachment and just like the self-grasping mind. So when somebody does something to us that we really don't like, really hurtful, or we see them doing something to somebody else and we think that's a bad person, you know, then the stronger the emotion, you know, not just the action of the person is bad, the whole person becomes bad. And not just the person in that moment, but also the person he was yesterday and the person he's going to be tomorrow. And if what we saw is really, really bad, then this person will forever be a bad person. And it is not that just part of him is bad, but everything is bad. And not only maybe he is bad, but his family also, you know, his wife and his children and his car. I also don't like his car. And this badness starts to spread, not just to the action of the person, right? The person might have done a negative action that you didn't like, but our mind then reacts with projecting a badness, making the whole person bad, even all his good actions. You know, maybe he is a loving father. And then you think, I wonder what is behind that. We make the whole thing bad. Even all the good things we're going to see bad, right? So our emotion colors our mind with the badness, and that badness we project onto the person. And if the badness is really big, then that badness is going to cover not just the person, but whatever is around the person. It can reach much further than the person. You know this one? Have you ever experienced that? I have. It's really, you have to pull it back, you know, oh, that is not really there. That was coming from my mind. So attachment and aversion arise from the conception of self, the self-grasping mind, and which holds on to a self that doesn't exist in actuality. So it doesn't exist in actuality means that we add qualities to that self that do not exist. We exaggerate certain qualities that are not there from the side of the object, that are coming from our mind. So because attachment and aversion arise from the self, attachment and aversion have the same characteristics. They add the same characteristics to what we are perceiving. So they both exaggerate the qualities of the object. They add an objective existence to the object and believe that that existence is really true. That's a really bad person. And not just him, also his wife, right? This is projected, and then believing it is really true. We believe in really good chocolate or a really good coffee, as if it is good from the side of the chocolate, good from the side of the coffee, which means that we think that whoever is going to taste this chocolate is going to experience this as really good chocolate. You know, you cannot say this is not good chocolate. This is really good chocolate, right? There are people who are very, very addicted to chocolate or attached to chocolate. They know exactly in which shop you can find which chocolate, and they go for the best. And that's the only thing. They put a lot of effort in that because that's the really good one. So we need to see that our attachment and our aversion and all the delusions that arise from that, they create that image, and that image that is bigger when the emotion is stronger. And then we put that onto whatever is in front of us, like a kind of a blanket. And that whole thing in front of us that starts to appear like that. Right? Then it appears back as if that blanket is living from the side of the object. As if that person was always bad, I just didn't see it. But now I'm happy that I saw his true nature. I believe that person was good, but now I know his true nature. Anyway, this is what we tell ourselves, right? In order to justify what we are doing. So what is it that triggers attachment and aversion to arise in the mind? So these are the things that we like and what we don't like. Who likes and doesn't like? It is the self-grasping mind, you know, what we are holding on to. So what are the interests of that self? So we're going to talk about that. In Buddhism, these are called the 8 worldly concerns, which are 4 things that we crave for, 4 things that we really want, 4 things that we work for, that we want to achieve what we want to have, and 4 things that we do not want to have, and we are really working not to have that. So I'm going to put them for you on the screen so that we can go through them together. Let me see how I do that. Okay, here are the 8 worldly concerns. Let me do it like that, so now you can see it, right? So there are 4 which we crave for. So their attachment is at play, right? Attachment is trying to get that. And then there are 4 that we want to be free of. And this is the work of aversion. So the first thing that we are craving for, and you check in your mind, you know, if you can recognize that. And If you crave for more than these four, I also like to hear it. According to Buddhism, everything that we crave for is covered in these four things. So the first thing is that we crave for material things. Whether these are gifts or whether this is, material things, whatever you find in the shop. Whatever pleases your six senses, whatever generates pleasure in your mind, this is what we crave for. Right? When we go out, or when we are home, we choose what we eat, we choose what music we want to listen, we choose what we want to see, we choose something that we like, something that pleases the senses. If we hear sounds that we don't like, we turn it off. We want to be separated from that. That's the aversion. Right? We do this the whole day, right? We like our senses the whole day to be happy. If there is anything that agitates us, we change it immediately, if we can. So then the next one is that we crave for happiness and comfort. So this has, for instance, has to do with maybe more on the mental level. So we crave for having good friends. We crave for doing interesting things. We crave for, becoming excited about things. Happiness and comfort. Wherever we can find it, we crave for. And then we crave for a good reputation, how people talk about us. We like to hear sweet, ego-pleasing words. We like how people see us. Right? Oh, that's a really good person. He was so generous and he gave us 10,000 rupees. And this is ego-pleasing words. We like that. If we give somebody a present, we like that the person says, oh, that is so nice of you. And I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. And you're really thoughtful. And we like when we hear these words back. Right? And then we like to hear praise, this is how people treat us. This is how, actually the example that I just gave is maybe more related to the praise. The reputation is how people talk about us behind our back. So how people treat us is very important. If we give to a beggar some money and he is not smiling at us, we think, oh, what a rude person. He doesn't even say thank you to me. Right? Or if we want to walk out of the door and somebody smashes the door right in front of us, we have similar reaction. What a rude person. We want to be treated nicely. True. If we're not treated nicely, we get upset. The mind gets disturbed. And so then we have four, they call it cravings to be free from. And so craving to be free from something, this is the aversion starts to work. The aversion is actually based on a craving. Our aversion is based on desire. The desire is there all the time, craving for something, craving to be free from something. And then when we want to be free of something, then we call it aversion. So we want to be free of a lack of material possessions. If we cannot buy something, if we don't have something, we don't feel happy. We don't feel, we keep looking for it. Where can I get it? I want to have a nice chair and I cannot find a chair in the shop. Every time I go to the shop, I'm looking for a chair. I don't stop looking for a chair. I like to have material possessions. If there is this craving, then I like to have it. And of course, we can think about lack of material possessions, that you really have nothing, you know. Think about people who have really nothing. Maybe not even a house, not even protection, not even good clothes, not even, you know, transport. What can you do with your life if you have nothing? We need a certain level of material possessions in order to be able to function in this world. If we don't have that, we can't function. You know, we become very unhappy. So we also don't like to experience unhappiness and discomfort, you know, or sickness, or being in a place where everything is boring, or, you know, being in pain. So when these things arise, we immediately start to work, how can I get rid of this? Oh, I'm going to see the doctor and he couldn't help me. I go and see another doctor. Or if somebody, you know, comes to visit you and is very uninteresting, we're not going to invite them back, because, or maybe we're going to hint how to say that nicely. You know, how can I speed up that they are going to leave my house so that I'm on my own again, or so that I'm with my family again, and then put on the telly and see something nice. So we also crave to be free of a bad reputation, you know, having a bad name. We don't like that. If you have a bad name and people talk badly about you, even if you haven't done anything, you know, everywhere where you come, people look at you in a certain way and you feel like, oh, they've been talking about me and they've been talking bad about me. And whether that is correct or not, what I have said, that's not so important. You know, the suffering is that they're talking bad about me. And then we also don't like to hear criticism or blame, you know, which includes abuse and slander, being put down. Even if we're not having any physical abuse, if somebody, you know, treats you like an object or like you're worthless, it's very painful. So we want to be free of that. And so what we are doing constantly is trying to find happiness, pleasure, trying to be free of suffering. Constantly. In every moment of mind, feeling arises in the mind. In every moment of mind, there is a reaction to have more of the pleasant feeling or less of the unpleasant feeling. I'm going to come back to you. I can put this in the, there is a box, I think, where I can put documents in, so I can put it in there. You can have a look at it. So do you recognize this nature of the mind? This is also a nature of the mind, right? Not the true nature of the mind. It is not true in the sense that it is our innate nature, but we have been with that nature since beginningless time. We have been with that nature because that nature is coming from ignorance, from not being able to see reality as it is, from not knowing, and also from distorted knowing. Due to that not knowing and that distorted knowing, we do not really know what happiness is. We do not really know what suffering is. And so we are grasping at things that give us immediate pleasure, and we move away from things that give us immediate pain. But it is based on very short-term thinking, and it is based on the self-grasping mind, the mind that already doesn't understand reality as it is. A mind that is out of touch with reality starts to find happiness, you know, starts to try to free us from suffering. Because that mind is not aligned with reality, it's whatever it's going to do. It's it can never bring you a proper result. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have the feeling that in terms of happiness, for a long time, there was this trial and error, Oh, I tried this a couple of times and it didn't really work. And maybe I have to try again, and I have to try harder, and I have to do things a little bit better. Maybe if I do it like this and this and this, then the happiness is going to come, right? And then you do that and the happiness doesn't come, but you don't give up. You don't say, oh, I don't know how to do this. You think I must have done something wrong. So what else can I try to change? What do I need to do in order to be successful? But the mistake that we make is so deeply ingrained in our mind, that we cannot see that where the mistake is coming from. So our search for happiness stays a bit a trial and error. And sometimes it is, that at a certain period in our life, we really like certain things. And so we repeat it and repeat it. And then at a certain point, we get bored of it. I'm going to do something else, So you find something else that is going to amuse you and please you. And then you're going to indulge in that until it starts boring. And then you find something else again. Right? That is a kind of trial and error. That is not that oh, I know where happiness comes from. I know how to create the causes for happiness. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be sure of the outcome. So why are we doing this? We have this self-grasping mind, and we are living in the desire realm. Our world is called desire realm. The animal world is called the desire realm. And then many, different beings are living with us that we cannot see, which are also living in the desire realm. And what we share is that we are all ruled by desire. Desire is the same as attachment. Everything that we are doing comes from attachment. And so the problem with attachment, the problem with desire is that it never can bring us satisfaction. Never. When you have something that is really nice, how often do we say, oh, I want to have one more? Or it is really good, but, if it would be a little bit more like that, it would be even better. It was almost perfect. It is very difficult because everything we are doing is based on desire. We can never come to that perfect happiness. Somehow we want to have a calm, peaceful mind, a stable happiness. But the happiness based on desire is just going up and down, up and down. And so we eat something really nice, we have a nice experience, but then soon after it's gone. We eat something really nice and we think, oh, that's nice, and then we eat a bit too much. And then the pleasure starts to turn into suffering. Desire doesn't have the quality that it can bring you lasting happiness because itself is a delusion. It is based on a wrong perception of reality. So it gives us pleasure, which is not stable, which is its nature is dissatisfaction, If you tune into every experience based on desire, there is a kind of lack in that experience, a kind of missing. And so we are living here in the desire realm, where nothing is perfect. So we think if I have enough money, I'm going to be happy. And if I don't have money, I'm going to have a problem. So we try to gather wealth and then you have wealth. But having wealth or having not wealth is not really the problem. But desiring more wealth is the problem. because we are living in the desire realm, there are always going to be problems. Nothing is going to be perfect, you know. So whatever choice we make in life, there are always going to be problems. So if we choose, you know, I want to be in a relationship, there are going to be problems in your relationship. And so then you decide, I do not want to be in a relationship anymore. And then you will have the problems of not being in a relationship. Or you decide, I want to have children. You know, so when that happens, you will have the problems of having children. And then you decide, no, that is too much for me. I do not want to have any children. You will have the problems of not having children. Right? If we have wealth, we will have the problems of having wealth. If we have no wealth, we have the problems of having no wealth. If we have success, we have the problems of having success. If we have no success, we have the problems of having no success. We are constantly striving to be free of problems, but unfortunately, you know, we are living in a world where problems constantly will arise. But what we can do is, when we have less attachment to these worldly concerns, then there will still be problems, but there will not be so much reaction. You know, we say, oh yeah, that's normal. It's normal that something happens. I'm not going to worry too much about it. That's just samsara. I let it go. I'm not going to put any energy in that. Right? There are problems, they come and go. Imperfections, they come and go. We don't have to fix them necessarily. They're just problems. So our challenge is, and on Monday we will talk more about that, how we can work with the disturbing emotions in a way that they're not triggered in the way we're doing it now. You know, we can see that due to the self-grasping minds, these emotions, they come up in every moment of our mind. The stronger we believe in the self, the stronger the delusions will be. So what tools do we have in order to lessen the delusions? What tools do we have to lessen the self-grasping mind? And one of them is that we go back to the nature of the mind, that we keep remembering, I am not my delusions. The delusions are not part of my nature. Right? Do I going to put a lot of effort in that to sort it all out, or just let it go, let it come and go? So we'll do that on Monday. But I would like you in the weekend to look at that mind, you know, attachment and aversion. How we are constantly, every movement that we make are in order to find more comfort, in order to move away from discomfort. Try to observe that in your own being without judging, without putting any conclusion on that. All right. Are there any questions? Two questions. Stina, can you just wait till you get unmuted? Yeah.
Stina, can you unmute? I'm trying to unmute.
Yeah, I unmuted and then I muted quickly because
Yes.
hold on. Yeah, my question is about, you talked about how we project. You mentioned the example, we see someone doing something bad and then this affects, we don't see it as the action only, we see it as the person, and we start thinking about the past. And I have a recent situation where a person who's a friend of mine, and I'm friends with the family as well. I'm friends with the family, and this friend of mine has recently committed quite a horrible crime, and I mean, he's not. I was going to say he's not here anymore. Of course, he's still alive, but he is in prison now. It all happened very rapidly, and of course, I've started to see things in the past as well, with these new lenses, with these new glasses. I would like your input on how to do less of this, and also I would like. Sorry.
What did you say? I would like to know how to.
Your input on how to do this less. I mean, how to project less, but also on. I'd like to understand why it's not good to do this, because I'm like, he did this thing, and what he has done in the past looks differently to me.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can go back to the past and you think, oh, okay, now I understand these and these things in a different light, right? And so when somebody that I'm going to assume that causes and conditions arose for him to commit that crime. And I think that there was already a tendency in him to go into that direction, but so far the causes and conditions were not there for him to really go there. But somehow you can pick it up, right? So there is a strong habit from the past that he has not really expressed because causes and conditions were not there until the moment they arose, and then he committed a crime and he went to prison, right? So he must have done this, I'm going to think, maybe many lifetimes. But that's only one aspect of this man or this person, only one, right? This person has, just as us, a need for contact, has a need for love, has a need for connection, has, you know, these needs are all there. He is still a human being. Although he commits crime, that doesn't make him by nature bad. So I can imagine that when something happens like that, you get in a kind of a shock, you know, because your reality changes. And so you need some time to sort out that reality. Oh, it was like this. And so I use my knowledge from the Dharma then to put it in the right perspective. And then where do I going to go from here with this person? You know, what am I going to do? So due to this, your relationship will change because you see him in a different way. And maybe for you, it is a good, I don't know, if you feel that maybe at a certain point you can still have warm feelings for him and feel like I want to connect with him. I want to understand what was going on for him. I know that he's also suffering. People who commit crimes, they have a lot of suffering in their mind, a lot of suffering. Otherwise, you don't do it. So your relationship changes, you know. What I was talking about is that we think, wow, that person is really bad. And when we start doing that and we project onto them, we create a lot of aversion, right? We push that person away. We create a separation. I'm talking about that separation. That is not helpful for the mind, you know, but just thinking about a situation and sorting it out is something different. The disturbing emotion of I like this, I don't like this. This is what is troubling us. So if you can think about it without going too much in the emotion, it's fine.
Initially, I could. Initially, I was reaching out to him as soon as he was arrested. But then, like now, a month later, I'm starting to get angry instead.
So I'm thinking, I think we'll have to have a whole trail of emotions to go through, you know, because he maybe has disappointed you, maybe there are all kinds of aspects. And this can be a very rich experience to peeling that off, you know, and I think straight after the arrest, wanting to have contact is too early. I think you first have to go through this. He has to go through that. And then there will be the time that you can reconnect. And then you have a very different relationship. Yeah. And maybe it becomes more meaningful and more loving, you know? Could be.
Could be. We'll see.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alice?
Yeah, so actually my question, actually I have two questions, but it's really quick. The first question is I want to understand more like the reason why there is a lack in every desire. You mentioned, right, when you have money, you have the problem, you don't have money, you have problem, successful or not, you have problem. Why is there always a lack in every desire? I think maybe you explained it, but I still didn't get it. And my
No, I haven't completely explained it.
Oh, okay.
I will leave that till Monday.
Oh, okay. And the second question is how to stop the self-grasping. Yeah, so these are my two questions. Yeah.
Yes, and so we will talk specifically about the self-grasping. Not sure which day, but definitely there was a day that we talk more about that. I will try to give you antidotes to everything that arises in the mind. You know, we can find antidotes to the delusions, we can find antidotes to the self-grasping mind, and all these layers have their own antidote. And then on top of that, you can do all the meditations that we're doing here, which are also antidotes in and of themselves, right?
No, but I'm just saying, on the first question, then can you explain to me why is there always lack in every desire?
Yes. Can I do that on Monday?
Oh, okay. Yeah, then that's it.
If I'm going to do that, it's not so easy to explain and to grasp. So I wanna do that on Monday. Then we are fresh, right? And then yeah.
Okay. It works.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. There was somebody else. Jitin, did you have a question? Yeah.
Yes, I did have a question. So I've done a few retreats in the past, and every time I think, can you hear me clearly?
Yes. It's a little bit far away, but that's okay.
Okay. Is this better?
No.
Okay. So I'll speak loudly. I've done a few retreats in the past, and I've come to the stage where we've gone over the 8 worldly concerns, and I think my question and my request to you is maybe on Monday, I'd like to have more tools on how to incorporate this on a daily basis, because when I've gone through the teachings, it's very clear, it makes sense, but then one day after the course it's a little weaker. 10 days after the course, you just remember the 8 words, the 8 worldly concern words. And, 8 months after the course, you remember maybe 4 of those words, right? So I'd just like to get your recommendations on how to study better and, incorporate these concepts better. And the other thing I just wanted to tell you is, the way you explained emptiness, I think, like, out of all the teachings that I've gone through, it just came across so lucidly, and I just wanted to thank you for the way you explained it. It was so simple. It didn't usually, when I reach the emptiness stage, it's like a bomb that goes off and there's just chaos, but I didn't even know you took us there, and it was just amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So what do we do? What we're trying to do is we're trying to change deep-seated habits in the mind. And these habits, they are so deep, they feel like this is who I am. So every time that we do not remember we are not that, we will follow the habit. And I know that, some of you feel like, oh, you're just explaining how things are, but we want to have the solutions for the things, how they are. But even understanding how things are, and if you observe that every day in your mind, oh, this is how it's going, oh, this is what I'm doing, oh, you just observe it in your mind, that is already an antidote, right? What is the main antidote is the knowledge. When you know it, when you see it, it will become less, it will become more weak. Your delusion will become more weak, right? But it will not disappear like that. Then, because of our habit, we keep going back to our old habit of thinking. And so you have to remind yourself again and again and again, and the Lamas, they talk about habituation of new ways of thinking. So how do you do that? That's why we do the meditations. That's why you follow the meditations in a certain way. Very boring. Again, I shouldn't say that. Excuse me. Again and again and again. It almost looks like the same thing. And then you have to keep that fresh in your mind so that you stay motivated to go there. And then you can go to more subtle levels, but I do the same thing. If I do not remind myself, I forget it. Even after 25 years, I forget it. I walk out of the door and I forget it. I need to wear my robes in order to remember. I need to, teach in order to remember. I need to, because I do not remember naturally. So it is a lot of effort, and there is no easy way. There's just no easy way. But I do know that if you put every day something in it, even if it is 5 minutes, that every day you say, oh, I'm not like that. This is actually my nature. Or you print out the 8 worldly concerns, and every day you read them before you leave. Maybe if that is the only thing you do, it will have an effect. Then slowly, you see maybe a change coming, which is going to help you to make the next step and the next step and to continue that work. But it is not easy, practicing Dharma is, there can be very beautiful, blissful experiences, but there is also a lot of hard work and tough going. And it's I don't know, it's like when you have to plow the field, and the farmer, you have to do everything by hand. You have to do everything yourself. Nobody is going to do any step for you. You have to walk all the steps. That's how it is. Yeah, I don't know if that inspires to continue. I look at His Holiness, he keeps going. Every day. And I think, how do you do it? But he never wonders, shall I do it today? He does it today. Shall I meditate today? I'll meditate today. There's no question, shall I do this or not? I have to, And so you need to find a motivation that you feel so inspired that you continue putting effort in your own development.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So on Monday, we will talk more about attachment and aversion, and also maybe the other delusions in what they do to the mind, what their nature is, what they tell us, and what they actually are doing, right? So we have a little bit the characteristics of the delusions, and I will give quite some tools that you can use in order to lessen the delusions in general, some things that you can apply to all the delusions. Delusions is what disturbs the mind. So what can we do to have less disturbance in the mind? All right, I'll see, maybe I can make a little list of that and put that in that folder so that you can print it out and hang it on your fridge and remind yourself every day. right? I know that when teachers do a lot of work, you know, when people do that for me, I become very lazy. I say, thank you for the folder. I put it in my computer and I never look at it. But if I really want to achieve something, I write it down on the paper and then it becomes something very different, right? So I do not give out so much just because of that. It's, I don't know, it makes me a bit lazy or not appreciative. But I'll try to put something in the folder and you can do with that whatever you want. All right. So we already spoke what we do on Monday. Then we only have a meditation left for today. And today we're going to meditate on the nature of the mind, on that attachment and aversion. So this is a meditation that if you say, what can I do in order to lessen my attachment and aversion? This meditation and all the other ones that we did this week, all of them work. Right? You choose whichever you like, you know, whatever works best for you. All right. So make yourself comfortable. Relax your body and relax your mind. Bring your mind to your body. Sometimes after listening to the teachings, the mind can be a little bit agitated or busy. So just step back from that mind. That mind can sort out itself. You just connect with your body, with your breath. So during the meditation, try to have an open mind. When the mind is open, we can accept whatever arises. And if we can accept what arises, there is no aversion in the mind. And if we have no expectations of what might come, there is also no desirous attachment in the mind. When the mind is in the present moment, we can see the impermanent nature of things. We can see feelings arising in the mind and dissolving back into the mind. we can observe how our mind reacts to feelings. And if we can stay in the present and not follow that reaction, we can see that that reaction naturally dissolves back into the mind. Being mindful gives us the opportunity to see the transit nature of everything. Everything that arises naturally dissolves again. When we see the impermanent nature of things, naturally there's no clinging to pleasant experiences and no aversion to unpleasant experiences. We realize there is nothing to hold on to. Everything passes away by itself. Feeling arises in every moment of mind. When pleasurable feelings arise in the mind, we react with attachment, which is our attempt to re-experience the pleasant feeling. The nature of attachment is that it cannot give you satisfaction. So when we follow attachment, there is always something missing, or we want more, or something different. For instance, when we sit for a while, we want to stand up. And when we stand up, we want to walk. And after some time, we want to sit again. There is never contentment. This is suffering. Pleasant feelings arise in dependence on a concept, an idea, or independence on the body. When a pleasant feeling arises, instead of following it, try to step back and give some space. And you can do that by being mindful and by being in the present moment. Then we will not be carried away by the feeling and by our reaction to the feeling. We stop clinging to it. When we practice contentment, we accept what is or what we have. When there is no desire, there is no dissatisfaction. And this is where peace starts. When unpleasant feelings arise, we react with aversion. This is our attempt not to experience the unpleasant feeling. When the aversion is big, we deny or ignore or suppress unpleasant feelings. We distract ourselves or indulge in pleasant activities and then think that we are trying to relax. By rejecting the unpleasant feelings, they become stronger. The relaxation that comes from being mindful of the unpleasant feelings is different. Instead of trying to escape, we try to look. Mindfulness helps us to understand the nature of things. It helps us to see the impermanence of things. And then when things happen, we know how to let go. We don't get disturbed when we lose something or when things change. The mind that is undisturbed by loss or harm is the mind of patience. When pain or suffering occurs, it becomes quickly huge because we are so focused on ourselves. So when that happens to you, then in order to counteract that, you can try to think of more suffering. Like my suffering is nothing compared to the suffering of others. Whatever we experience is always relative, and the amount depends on what we compare it with. The moment we realize what suffering is, peace begins. Peace lays within the knowledge. As soon as we understand, peace comes. As soon as we understand that we are afraid or worried, we accept it. And when we accept it, it doesn't become bigger. Having contemplated like this, check how your mind feels, what it has done to your mind. And maybe you can think of what was most helpful for you in the meditation and try to recall that during the weekend and after the weekend. And then we can dedicate the merit that we have collected with this meditation, with this session, visualizing it all in the form of a positive energy that gathers in our heart, filling our whole body. And we can dedicate that this positive energy might help us to develop more understanding of the workings of our own mind, of the workings that are helpful for our mind and those that are not so helpful. We can dedicate that energy is gonna help us to identify more with the aspects of the mind that are calm and peaceful, and that we can let go of our identification with that what disturbs the mind. And then we can visualize that positive energy from the heart radiates into space, touching each and every sentient being. Bringing them everything they need, everything that makes them happy, and melting away all the things that made them suffer. And then we can bring our awareness to the here and now, to the space that we are in, our room, and then to our body. We reconnect from the head down to the arms, the chest, the stomach, the back, the legs, the feet. We feel our body sitting. Feel strong connection to your body. Feel grounded. And when you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Thank you so much for being here today. I wish you a very good weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Monday.
Thank you, Venerable. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you, everyone. And have a good weekend. And over the weekend, we have teaching with Young Rinpoche, weekend 6 weekend teaching. So I'll put the link here. It's a free teaching which happened 2 weeks already, so it's continuing this weekend. So if you happen to have time, you're most welcome to join. It's at 4 p.m. Tomorrow and the day after. I'm sending the link here. And maybe I was thinking, maybe could I request everyone from Monday to join maybe 5 minutes before, so that maybe we can start exactly at 4. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.